Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explain here, bringing you guys another Boruto 2 Blue Vortex discussion. Today, I want to talk to you guys about why we need to take a much closer look at Konohamaru's situation in Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, because while I was taking a closer look at the chapter, something came to my mind as Konohamaru was hitting Matsuri with that double giant Rasengan, which can we take a moment to appreciate the growth that this man had to not only be able to perform a jutsu like that, which requires high chakra reserves, but also to do it with both hands while literally being in the process of getting crushed to death. But those Konohamaru stocks, buy them now while they're on the rebound, folks. But as this is going on, my mind took a pause for a second because I don't think that Konohamaru is quite out the woods just yet. So join me in today's newest Naruto Explained video where we take a look at why Konohamaru is still in bigger danger than you might realize. Real quick, by the time you guys are seeing this, this will be the weekend, which means that we're 2 to 3 days away from that soft reboot for the channel that we've been talking about, where videos that the patrons have had for the last year, they're going to be going up on YouTube for the first time ever, and editors absolutely cooked on those videos. The first 10 to 14 days each month moving forward are going to be edited at the quality level of the chapter reviews or better, and we're going to be going deep into Naruto topics, meaning there are zero manga discussions. We're basically going back to vintage Kryptonian Saiyan days, straight lore, video essays, including going way past the surface on stuff that you might have seen other people cover on YouTube. Being blunt, there's a lot more meat left on the bone that was not covered in other topics that have blown up on this platform. Some of you guys have asked me, are you not going to talk Boruto? I'm still going to mix in Boruto topics those first 14 days, but it's not going to be 2 Blue Vortex manga discussions. You'll be seeing stuff like Boruto video essays and things of that nature. As much as I enjoy talking Boruto manga stuff or whatnot, I want to go back to my roots, because there's only so many different ways you can talk about what happened in the last Boruto manga chapter. The first video is gonna be the first of 4 Matsuri videos that you guys will be getting. Super excited because that's a fun concept for the first video. So with that being said, let's jump into today's topic for Boruto 2 Blue Vortex. Which, Konohamaru fans, I'm gonna give you guys some hope. Konohamaru is far from being free of danger in Boruto 2 Blue Vortex for multiple reasons, both due to Matsuri's current state and the possibility of external reinforcement. So we're going to break down why this is the case. So first, we have to look at Matsuri's state and the potential for revenge. Despite being reduced to only her head and part of her upper body, Matsuri remains a huge threat because she can still use wood release. This means she is not entirely immobilized. We saw that, and she can launch attacks, potentially creating binding techniques or sharp wooden tendrils to strike at Konohamaru while he is weakened. Most importantly, she is enraged. Having her emotions manipulated by Konohamaru, especially when she inherited feelings for him from Moegi, it has likely driven her into a state of fury. Betrayal, especially in matters of love or trust, it is a potent narrative trigger for revenge in many folklore stories, and it should be worth noting, what did Shikamaru warn Konohamaru to do? Betray them before they can truly become evil. What is the oldest tale known to man, especially in the Naruto universe? What is the one thing that turns people completely evil? Love, betrayal, and loss of love. Matsuri just went through all 3 of them in the span of 1 Rasengan to each of her wrists. She also may have a deeper connection to the roots underground. It is possible that she can use those vast underground root systems to not just hear information like we know that she can do, but also regrow or relocate herself. If the Shinju operates like a true tree, its severed parts might be able to regenerate, or the main body could assist her in regaining her strength. The main body obviously is in that 10 Tails dimension, but the fact that we are told that there are roots underground that Matsuri has a connection to, I don't think that we can fully ignore that, especially since it's never been mentioned again after she made that initial claim. I do not believe that was a false gun scenario. That's going to come back into play at some point. Then you also have the continued comparison to Hidari and potential regeneration. So Hidari is the only of the awakened Shinju that we've seen who is able to make his own claw marks and teleport that way. However, Hidari, because he was able to use the claw marks to escape and heal in that 10 Tails dimension, while we haven't seen Matsuri demonstrate this ability, we can't rule it out either. She is made from part of Code's chakra just like all the others. There are multiple ways she might be able to recover. Self-regeneration via those roots underground, if they can provide nourishment and chakra recovery, being retrieved by another one of those Shinju creatures, so basically Jura intervening, which I don't think will happen. Koji would have warned about that, but potentially Ryu. You also have a claw grime that could carry her back to the 10 Tails dimension for healing. We just saw Ryu summon some of those claw grimes and have one of them take the iron sand sword into that dimension and take it off the battlefield. It's not crazy to think that one of them is on that battlefield, pulls Matsuri through them, she gets healed, and then she comes back out later. Konohamaru, on the other hand, he has suffered severe injuries to the head. He was getting his head crushed in when Matsuri said she was going to eat him, and he also has spinal injuries. There were wood-release tendrils in his spine. This is critical because he's already weakened and unlikely to handle another full confrontation. Even if Matsuri is in a weakened state, she can still launch one last desperate surprise attack. If another enemy appears, he is as good as dead unless there's backup that arrives. Now, we can't rule that out. This is a battle shonen, and this is a sequel to one of the biggest gateway battle shonen of all time. We can't rule that out, but that is a possibility there. Now, the other thing that you have to look at, and the most important thing, as always, are the Shinto and Buddhist revenge parallels. In Japanese folklore, spirits or beings who have been wronged, especially in matters of love and betrayal like Matsuri, what do they often do? They often return to take vengeance. There are quite a few stories that align with Matsuri's situation, in particular the Onryu, which are the vengeful spirits. Vengeful spirits who seek out revenge on those who have wronged them in life. They act out of a deep resentment and emotional pain because they have a refusal to move on. Matsuri's rage in this last chapter at being emotionally deceived by Konohamaru, especially since Moegi's chakra is at her root, it could make her function like a vengeful spirit, continuing to haunt Konohamaru even in a weakened state and potentially try to finish him off. Hence, we're going with that John Cena heel turn reference with the thumbnail. In many legends, these vengeful spirits, they persist even after death, harming their betrayers in cruel fashions. Now, the other thing that we have here is Kiyohime, who is a woman who was consumed by betrayal. So this is another folktale. So in this story, Kiyohime is a woman who fell in love with a monk named Anshin, who rejected her after showing initial interest. So her heart, it was consumed by rage, and it transformed her into a dragon. She ultimately pursued him and buried him alive inside of a temple belt. Now, this is where it gets fascinating. You guys have heard me say that Matsuri reminded me of the Snow Woman tale, but you've also heard me say when you look at Ryu's name, there are two translations for what his name could mean. One being kernel of grain, and the other one, if you get rid of the accent mark over the U, it means dragon. What did we just talk about here? Kiyohime is a woman who fell in love with a monk. The monk obviously being Konohamaru, Kiyohime being Matsuri. The dragon that Kiyohime transforms into is Ryu. Obviously, that's not necessarily Matsuri transforming into a dragon, but you have someone on the battlefield named after dragon. That could be something to keep your eyes on. Now, this is very similar to, again, Matsuri's situation with Konohamaru because he played on her emotions, and now she may very well retaliate out of heartbreak and fury. Which, if you're Konohamaru, god dog, man, you really can't catch a break. Like, at this point, you're batting around 50% in terms of win-loss record in the entirety of the Boruto series so far. It might be closer to 40% when you add in 2 Blue Vortex. Somebody get my man an assist. If Matsuri does regain her strength, she may focus entirely on hunting Konohamaru down out of sheer emotional vengeance, much like how Kiyohime did to Anshin. Now, the other thing you have to look at here is the Buddhist in karma and the retribution aspect. In Buddhist teachings, manipulating emotions for personal gain, especially in life or death situations, you better believe that's going to lead to some karmic consequences. Konohamaru used Matsuri's inherited love to survive, but in doing so, he created a potential karmic backlash. She may now be bound to him until she fulfills her vengeance. Her vengeance is trying to consume him. Basically, Konohamaru's not going to be able to get her off of him. And normally when you're dealing with somebody that got a body shaped the way that Matsuri is, that's normally not necessarily a bad thing, but in this case, this is a woman scorn. It's a bit sexist, if you will. The sad reality is that a lot of the Japanese folklores in some of the Shinto stories play a lot into sexism. I'm not trying to go into the whole ulterior messaging type thing, but unfortunately, that's part of the reality for a lot of those older stories that you see when you start digging into stuff. The idea of a spirit that is tied to unfinished emotions is common in both Buddhist and Shinto traditions, meaning Matsuri may not stop until she destroys them, which that would go back to Kashin, Koji, and Shikamaru saying, betray them and destroy them before they become evil. What did Shikamaru call them? Wild young beast cubs. Now, in terms of what could happen next, Konohamaru's survival, it depends on several factors here. If Matsuri regenerates or is taken back for healing, she will return stronger, and she will definitely hold a personal grudge against Konohamaru. If another Shinju or Claw Grime retrieves her, Konohamaru may not be able to stop it in his weakened state. If she can use the roots to restore her form, she may immediately retaliate against him with deadly force. His injuries, if they are severe enough that even a minor attack by Matsuri could finish him off, that might be a possibility. I lean more so in the sense of, while I personally want to see Konohamaru get consumed and eaten, I don't know if it happens. I do die on the hill. We need to see one target eaten by a Shinju. Otherwise, it is like, wait for it, it's like the Akatsuki never sealing away a Biju that's extracted from a Jinchuriki. We gotta see it at least once. And Konohamaru is the only one that makes sense outside of Ada. And if Ada ever gets betrayed, we riot. I will personally fly my ass over to Japan, hunt down Ikimoto, and we gonna have one hell of a conversation, because you ain't doing that to Ada. We protecting Ada and Nami and Emilia. Those are the best girls. Now, in conclusion, I'll say this. If you're one of the patrons in the Patreon Discord server, you got that inside joke there. If not, you should really become a patron, join the Patreon Discord server, and join in on some of those conversations. Konohamaru is safe, but he might be far from safe. And it's because Matsuri's rage and the potential regeneration and the deep-rooted chakra connection, it suggests that she could still pose a major threat. Even though vengeance, karmic punishment, and supernatural persistence are at play here, Matsuri does have the potential to haunt Konohamaru in ways that could result in his demise. Obviously, if you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing and checking out this Naruto Explained video over here on the left, or click here up top for this new video for my Everything One Piece Explained channel, or click here on the right for this video from my Anime Explained channel. Can't you tell I love talking about anime? I love it a lot.